watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And thanks for joining us on this Tuesday for DC News Now at 4. I'm Mark Hall.
I'm Tosin Fakile. I'm in for Annalisa this afternoon, and we'll get to those top stories in just a moment. But we start with weather. It is a DMV first warn day, and much of our region is expecting some level of severe weather over the next 48 hours.
It's been cloudy, rainy, misty. You can look outside here in Roslyn. It's just been like that all day, and the question is, when will it let up? Let's head over to meteorologist Damon Matson with the first look at our forecast. And Damon, is this weather system going to be around for a while?
It sure is. As we go into the rest of the week here, guys, we're going to be dealing with some sort of aspect of this big, massive storm system that is impacting a large portion of the country. Now, for us here in the DMV, those damp, dreary conditions we've had all day have not been fun, but they have been keeping any sort of severe weather at bay for us here. Now, we have had multiple rounds of rainfall that unfortunately has prompted this flood watch that was expanded and also put out further in time across the region here today. This goes now until Wednesday afternoon, and this flood watch covers all of western north central Maryland down into the district and a large portion of northern Virginia. All of these areas you see green under a flood watch for the next 24 to 36 hours, as we are expecting more rounds of rainfall similar to the one we just experienced over the last few hours here this afternoon. Some pretty steady rainfall crossed the entire DMV. All of this was actually the leftovers from a line of strong, even severe storms that were back over West Virginia earlier this morning. But those storms weakened significantly as they ran into a lot of the cool, very stable air we've had over the DMV here today. That's what's been producing all the cloud cover and fog, but it's been helpful keeping severe weather at bay for us. Now, that wave of rainfall is exiting, but looking back to the west, we have tornado watches back across the Ohio River Valley, all across Kentucky there, as more thunderstorm activity is developing, and all of this is going to be tracking our direction. Now, similar to what we saw earlier on in the day, these thunderstorms will likely weaken a bit before they get here, so primarily we're going to see a good bit of steady rainfall, but there is going to be the possibility of a few thunderstorms. One or two of those could be on the strong to severe side as we head later in the afternoon and evening and go into your Tuesday night. This rainfall, this storm activity is not going to let up. So we're going to keep our eye out as more of that activity rolls our way. When should we expect that highest chance for some severe weather and heavy rainfall on Wednesday? We'll take a full look at your forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. The mourning continues today across the world for 7 workers with a D.C.-based charity killed in an Israeli air raid Monday in Gaza.
Yeah, and those workers were with the World Central Kitchen, created by famed chef Jose Andres. Israel's prime minister acknowledged his forces carried out the unintended strike on innocent people.
DC News Now's Dave Laval joins us from outside the organization's headquarters in Northwest D.C. Dave, tough time for the members of that group. What do they have to say about what happened?
Good afternoon to you, Mark and Tosin. Yes, a very difficult time for all those involved with World Central Kitchen, which, by the way, has suspended delivery of food aid to Gaza until further notice. It declined our request to comment on what happened, but Chef Jose Andres, who founded the charity group, said on his X page he is heartbroken and grieving for the families and friends of those killed. Chef Andres added, quote, "These are people, angels I served alongside in Ukraine, Gaza, Turkey, Morocco, Bahamas, Indonesia. They are not faceless. They are not nameless. The 7 died in Monday's attack in central Gaza. We have not been told their names. However, the Associated Press reports they're an American-Canadian dual citizen, 3 British nationals, an Australian, a Polish national, and a Palestinian. World Central Kitchen said it had coordinated with the Israeli military over the movement of the cars that carried aid workers as they left northern Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said an investigation is underway to make sure similar incidents do not happen. The United States joined other nations that condemned the attack. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called the aid workers killed heroes.
They have been doing extraordinary, brave work, day in, day out, and critical work to try to make sure that people in need get what they need, starting with the most basic thing of all, food.
And World Central Kitchen told us last month it provided more than 40 million meals to families who needed them in Gaza. Coming up at 5 o'clock, you're going to hear what some of the DMV's congressional delegation have to say regarding the deadly attack. We're live in Northwest. Dave Laval, DC News Now.
All right, Dave, thank you. D.C. Council is expected to vote today on the $515 million deal to keep the Washington Wizards and the Capitals in the district through 2050. Now, it's the first phase of the process in authorizing the capital funds, but Mayor Muriel Bowser still needs to work out the details of the agreement, including an expansion into the Chinatown neighborhood. Our political and government reporter Leonard N. Fleming has been talking to council members today and has the details.
The authorization of the $515 million deal to keep the Washington Wizards and the Capitals in D.C. is the easy part. Some council members say after they approve this deal today, they need to see the fine print on the deal.
The council isn't just writing a blank check.
D.C. Councilwoman Brianne Nadeau says she's supportive of the $500 million deal to keep the Caps and Wizards in the district, but many questions still remain.
We're going to be involved in the discussions around permitting and the vending zone and how is it policed and how do we make traffic flow and how do we ensure that people can still pass through that area on the most heavily used bus routes.
Now Mayor Muriel Bowser will work to design the finer points of the agreement and then bring back later for council to approve.
Today I'm an absolutely a yes vote.
D.C. Councilman Matthew Fruman says he's all in, but
someday we're going to have a final agreement in front of us. I very much hope to be a yes vote. I expect to be a yes vote, but you can't do that until you've seen all the details of the agreement.
It's very troubling.
Ren Lee of the Save Chinatown Solidarity Network is not happy about the monumental deal when Chinatown businesses and its dwindling people aren't getting a financial boost.
As if the only way that DC can thrive is through feeding the rich is quite unimaginative.
Reporting at the Wilson Building, Leonard N. Fleming, DC News Now.
D.C. police are investigating use of force after an officer shot a suspect. It happened just before 9 p.m. last night on Bladensburg Road and V Street in Northeast. Investigators say officers approached a group of people involved in a fight outside a Wells Fargo bank near the bank's drive-through. Officers say one man had a gun. Police say the man ran and they chased him, and that's when an officer shot the man.
The individual continued to flee from the officer. The officer ended up discharging his firearm. The suspect was struck. The suspect has been taken to an area hospital.
We're told no officers were hurt. Police did not say if the suspect pointed or fired his gun at that officer. The use of force will be investigated by Internal Affairs. Right now, police in Prince William County are investigating after a deadly double shooting this morning. County police were called to a home in Manassas for a welfare check after people heard gunshots just after 5 in the morning. 2 women died on the scene. Officers found and detained a person of interest about 100 miles away in Shenandoah County. No charges have been filed yet. Our Randy Bass will have more coming up at 4:30.
And all new today, watch as the first vessel passes through a temporary alternate channel created near the damaged Key Bridge in Baltimore. The tugboat Crystal Coast pushed the fuel barge through the channel, and according to officials, travel along the temporary channel is limited to daylight hours only.
And we continue to follow new developments in Baltimore, where the Key Bridge collapsed last week. Today, Maryland Governor Wes Moore giving an update on recovery efforts. We'll hear from him coming up. A group of House Republicans have filed a bill that would rename Dulles International Airport after former President Donald Trump. Now, not much else is known about the proposed legislation at this time. The airport's current namesake, John Foster Dulles, was the U.S. Secretary of State during a portion of the Cold War. Dulles was born in Washington, D.C. and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
D.C. police are enforcing 2 new drug-free zones. They start tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and continue through next Monday, April 8th, until 7:59 a.m. Police say that the zone signs are placed overnight, allowing 24 hours notice. This is all part of a push to address illegal drug activity in the district. And some of those locations include the 1800 block of 6th Street Northwest, the 600 to 700 blocks of Florida Avenue Northwest, and the 5000 block of Southern Avenue Southeast, and the 800 block of 51st Street Southeast.
Developing this afternoon, a Fairfax County judge says there is probable cause in a murder case involving a Herndon family's au pair. 2 people were killed at that family's home on Stablebrook Way last year. Now, it is a complicated case with new details coming out in a courtroom today. Coming out in the courtroom yesterday, our Northern Virginia reporter Max Marcilla breaks it down.
Last year, on the morning of February 24th, police were called to the Banfield family home on Stablebrook Way in Herndon. Brendan Banfield, the husband and father who lived there, said someone stabbed his wife Christine to death, so he shot him. That man turned out to be 39-year-old Joseph Ryan. But the family's au pair, then 23-year-old Juliana Perez Magalhaes, was charged with Ryan's murder several months later. Police saying there was forensic evidence that connected her to the killing. A judge agreeing, saying there is probable cause she committed the murder with a gun. A manager of an Ashburn shooting range testified that Brendan and Magalhaes had been to a shooting range twice together in the months leading up to the murder, and that a Glock Brendan purchased the month earlier was found inside the home on the day of the murder. Any motive is still unclear, but theories have been offered. Magalhaes' defense attorney saying in a previous court appearance that she saw Ryan enter the home, went inside with Brendan Banfield, and shot him when they saw Ryan stabbing Christine Banfield. But prosecutors have said they believe Magalhaes and Brendan Banfield were in a relationship, and what happened in the home was orchestrated so they could end up together. In that theory, Ryan was lured into the home by someone acting as Christine Banfield on a fetish website. Reporting in Fairfax County, Max Marcilla, DC News Now.